What in the world's happening with King County real estate? Let's see. All right. This is your supply and demand graph for the month. Blue is the demand, the number of listings that went under contract, and the green is the supply, new listings that came to market. This is the last 5 years in King County, and you can see a couple of things really clearly. So, first of all, you can see how abnormal the last 2 years were. The pandemic years, increased demand, decreased inventory. That was the source of all the bidding wars, all the craziness in the market, the spike up in prices, and everything that came with it was a function of the way supply started to match demand. There was always a little bit more, but you can see way bigger deal than in 2017, 18, or 19. And when you get to 2022, post-pandemic, you can see the green area pretty much matches pre-pandemic numbers. And in fact, if you look at August numbers, we are really roughly where we were pre-pandemic in the number of the ratio between the number of listings and the number of buyers. There were more buyers at the peak in 2019, 18, and 17, but really look at 2017 looks really like 2022 in terms of inventory. And you saw a real decrease in the number of buyers when the interest rates spiked, right, over the summer, which is why there were at the beginning of June through July, there was a dip in the demand in the market, and we spiked up in buyers last month a little bit. We're going to take this down, do a little deeper dive here for a second. Just look at the last 2 years so you can compare. Yeah. And you can see in the graph here, buying demand went back up. Now it's still way lower than pandemic, but it did start to come back. Buyers have started to come back. And if you look overall, you can see why it's still a seller's market is this demand is so close to the supply. We wound up in June and July with these huge gluts of inventory, which I was predicting if you've been listening, that that's not a surprise. And demand stepped back in to suck up that extra inventory. And predictably, what you're going to see for the rest of the year is stuff like this, where there really is demand is going to match the supply. People are going to stop listing their homes come September, October, November. People stop listing in the fall for no good reason, because there's still plenty of buyers, and if you list in June, you risk this kind of a thing where you're having too much competition. So demand is probably going to start to slow down. Listings are going to slow down as well. You'll wind up in a slower, less transactional winter months, but it'll be close. Demand will meet supply, will come close to meeting supply, and you'll see a stabilization in prices. This is what we're seeing now, that rather than double-digit increases in values every year, you're going to see 2, 3, 4, 5% increase in value every year, which is a sustainable kind of growth pattern. That's what's predictable right here. That's what these graphs tell me. Now, the truth is everyone's situation is unique. Everyone's, has a different need, different wants, different house. Let me know what yours is. That's really what I'm here for. Happy to answer any questions you got. Make sure you like this, subscribe, share this with anyone you want. I look forward to talking to you. Aaron Hendon with Christine & Company over at eXp Realty. That's what's happening in King County real estate. What in the world's happening with Pierce County real estate? Oh my gosh, look at this. This is so exciting if you get excited by things like this. All right, this is the supply and demand graph for the last 5 years. Blue is this demand, the number of listings that came off the market any given month, and the green is the supply, the new listings that went on any given month. Supply, meet demand. All right, now, what you can see is how completely abnormal the pandemic years were. Very little excess inventory in 2020 or 2021. That's why the spike in prices. Supply and demand, not just a good idea. It's the law. Now, 2022, look how closely it resembles 2017, 18, and 19. That's right. It's a seller's market, but it's not a crazy one. What does that mean? Well, let's look. So you can see a couple of things. First of all, 2022 never reached quite the peak of inventory of 19 of the previous years, but the demand also was a little bit slower given interest rates. I wanted to show the last 5 years so you could really see that this is back to pre-pandemic normalcy. So let's look at something a little bit closer in so you can see a little bit more detail. All right, so what I'm interested in is not so much the comparison to the pandemic years, because we know those were weird, but look what happened this year. All right, this year, I could probably even get this even a little bit. Well, let's leave it. All right, so you can see that June and July brought increase in inventory in June, bigger than the last 2 years, and demand dropped way off. A lot of extra housing in June and July in the market this year. August began to suck that up. Okay, less inventory came to market and buyers came back. That the interest rates sort of stabilized. The shock of 5% has left the body. 5% is still an extraordinarily low rate as interest rates go historically, and the buyers came back to suck up that glut of inventory. What's predictable for the rest of the year here, given that we're now looking at what we would consider normal seasonality, is we will see less and less listings and buyers will slow down. But notice how close the buyers match the listings in August. That's still a seller's market. We're probably going to stay in a seller's market. If things continue the way they are, this is a completely normal seller's market, meaning 3, 4, 5% increase in prices over time, that if you price your home well, you'll sell it quickly. And buyers will still have more to choose from. Buyers will still have homes on the market that weren't priced appropriately to begin with, and you'll be able to get some bargains that way. So if you're selling, price it well. If you're buying, check out the first time in 3 years you've been able to actually shop. Okay, so let me know if you have questions about this, because everyone's circumstances are different and everyone needs a different piece of advice, because Pierce County is one thing, but this block in Tacoma is another. So let me know what I can do for you. Share this, like it, subscribe, do all that good social media stuff. Let me know if there's anything I can help you with. Aaron Hendon at Christine & Company with EXP. Talk to you soon. What in the world's happening with Kitsap real estate? Well, check it out. All right, we'll look at Kitsap and then we'll zoom in on Bainbridge Island, just because it's fun to zoom in on things. What you're looking at is the last 5 years supply and demand. The green is the supply, the number of new listings that came to market, and the blue is the ones that went off the market, the demand. So what do we see? Well, we see that in 2020, oh my gosh, there was nothing available on Bainbridge. Nothing. Huge seller's market. Demand sucked up everything that was possible to be sucked up. 2021 brought a little bit more, but still demand super high, higher than it's been in any of the previous 4 years. Then 2022, right where we are now, the demand dried up in Kitsap overall, right? Like everywhere around in our region, when interest rates spiked, demand shriveled up, but it started to come back in August. And we'll look at that in a second. We'll zoom in on August for a minute. But what you see here particularly is how much we currently look like pre-pandemic. And that's the important thing to note, that we're back to what one could consider normal seasonality, that the seasonal trends that had established themselves in prior years are back, that this is really fairly normal seasonality. Just zoom in on this year particularly, and I'll show you what I mean. You can see this is a really normal seasonal graph, okay? That inventory spikes in the summer and goes down throughout the year. Here's September, October, November, December. That will be probably what happens this year as well. You could consider that, this is, and August is already lower than last year's September. So it's still a seller's market. I don't care what you hear about the market crashing. It is still a seller's market. So the opportunity here is, if you're pricing your home, you got to price it intelligently, because there's still plenty of buyers. and not a lot of competition. And if you're buying, you can pick and choose from the houses that weren't priced intelligently because we are in a more normalized seller's market. Okay. Meaning 4%, 5% price growth year to year, which is a sort of a sustainable model versus the double-digit insanity we saw for the last 2 years. But look, demand came back in August. We see that all across the region, that interest rates stabilized. People stopped freaking out that 5% is too much and started to come back. When we look at Bainbridge, okay, this is the Bainbridge version of that graph. Okay, so just Bainbridge, lot more inventory than there has been, way more inventory than Kitsap overall, and I mean relative to buyers. And you'll see the sort of normal seasonality thing happening again towards the end of the year. But this is right now the easiest time to buy in any of the last 5 years, given the gap between new listings and ones that went off the market. If you look at overall Bainbridge, right, while inventory is certainly down from pre-pandemic levels, the buyers are down as well. So you've got the easiest time to buy since 2019 for sure. And 2019 was an extraordinarily good year to buy. Again, if you're pricing your home on Bainbridge, you should be able to get, if it's priced well, it should sell quickly. And if you price it wrong, you're going to pay. It's going to sit. That is how that's going to go. If you have questions about this, or you have things you want to work out, details, things like that, because everyone's situation is unique, that's what I'm here for. Call me, message me, whatever you need to do. Like this wherever you're watching it, subscribe, share it. Let me know what I can do for you. Aaron Hendon with Christine and Company over at eXp Realty. Talk to you soon. What in the world is happening with Vashon Real Estate? Well, check it out. I think this is fascinating, and I assume if you're watching, it's at least of interest, if not fascinating. You're looking at the supply and demand graph. Last 5 years, my favorite graph, because it's not just a good idea, it's the law. And you can see the green is the supply, new listings that came to market. Blue is the demand, homes that sold during that month. And you can see, unlike other areas in the Puget Sound, so if you haven't watched the King County and the Kitsap County and the Pierce County updates, check those out. Unlike those areas, this is not pre-pandemic. Pre-pandemic, we were getting to 30, 35, 40 houses in a given month coming to market. We haven't broken 25 and really since before the pandemic. This little spike here is right in February of 2020, right when everything hit the fan. So very hard to buy on the island, and it's unlikely to get better anytime soon. This is, this is a real problem of supply and demand. It's very difficult to build on the island, permitting and water and the lead time you take to get a home built. It's unlikely to, supply is unlikely to change, right, in any significant way. I mean, it's going to age out at some point and you'll get more houses that way, but they're not building anymore on the island. And the demand is really strong. I mean, even if you look at the recent past, let's just look at the last 2 years, you can see, look at this month, August, demand exactly met supply. If you watch the other counties in the Puget Sound, that doesn't happen. We're not in that kind of a range. Mostly supply has outstripped demand. And while the beginning of the summer was a little bit looser with that, it's gone now. So if you're selling on the island and you price it appropriately, you'll get multiple offers. You just will. It's unlike the other areas in the Sound. And if you're buying, you got to be quick in cash, just like you have been for the last 3 years. It's not changed at all. And I don't see how it changes. I don't see what the mechanism is that brings a whole bunch more inventory to the market. So what's predictable is that now to January, you'll see less and less inventory coming on, and demand should stay up with that. The demand will go away, but it's going to match the inventory, meaning you're not out of the woods with bidding wars. If you're a buyer and if you're a seller, it still looks really, really great for you. Now, everyone's circumstances are different. So if you have questions or things you want to know about the value of your home, let me know. That's what I'm here for. Message me, do whatever you want to get a hold of me. I'm available anytime. Aaron Hendon with Christine and Company over at eXp Realty. I look forward to talking to you soon.